Have you ever heard of the world's first known author? Not Homer, not Sappho, but a woman who lived over 4,000 years ago. Her name was Enheduanna, and her story is one of power, faith, and the birth of literature itself. Let's travel back to ancient Mesopotamia, to the dawn of civilization, to uncover the life of this extraordinary figure. Our story begins around 2300 BC in the Akkadian Empire, the world's first empire, founded by the legendary Sargon the Great. Sargon was a brilliant military strategist and a shrewd political operator. To unite his vast and diverse empire, he needed more than just armies. He needed to win the hearts and minds of his people, especially in the newly conquered Sumerian city-states in the south. His solution was ingenious. He appointed his own daughter, Enheduanna, to one of the most powerful religious positions in the land, the high priestess of the moon god Nanna in the city of Yar. This was no mere ceremonial role. The high priestess of your controlled vast temple estates oversaw religious rituals and wielded immense economic and political influence. By placing his daughter in this role, Sargon masterfully blended Akkadian and Sumerian cultures, creating a powerful symbol of unity. Enheduanna's name itself is a title, meaning high priestess, ornament of the sky god An. It signifies her sacred duty. From her base in Ur, one of the most important cities of the ancient world, she would preside over a bustling religious complex. Imagine the scene: grand ziggurats reaching for the heavens, courtyards filled with priests and scribes, and the air thick with the scent of incense and the sound of chanted hymns. Enheduanna was at the very center of it all. But Enheduanna was more than just a political appointee or a religious figurehead. She was a poet, a theologian, and a writer. And this is where her story becomes truly revolutionary. For the first time in recorded history, an author signed their name to their work. In her hymns, she speaks in the first person, telling us her thoughts, her struggles, and her devotion. Before Enheduanna, literary works were anonymous, seen as the product of tradition or divine inspiration alone. By naming herself, she asserted her own authorship, her own creative voice. She literally invented the idea of an author. Archaeologists have unearthed incredible evidence of her existence. The most famous is the Disc of Enheduanna, a calcite disc discovered in Ur. On it, we see a carved procession scene. Leading the ritual is a figure in a flounced fleece garment and a high conical hat, the ceremonial dress of the high priestess. An inscription on the back names her Enheduanna, Ziru priestess, wife of the god Nanna, daughter of Sargon, king of the world, in the temple of the goddess Inanna. This artifact is a tangible link, a portrait of our author from over 4 millennia ago. Her most celebrated works are a series of 42 temple hymns, known as the Sumerian temple hymns. In these poems, she methodically describes the sacred temples across Sumer and Akkad, detailing their divine residence, their rituals, and their architectural glory. It was a monumental undertaking, a literary project that served to unify the theology of the entire empire under a single, coherent vision. She created a religious map of the land, giving each city its place within the grand imperial cosmos. But her true masterpiece, the work that reveals her personal voice most profoundly, is the Exaltation of Inanna. This isn't just a hymn of praise. It's a deeply personal and dramatic poem. In it, Enheduanna describes a political rebellion that rocks the city of Ur. A usurper named Lugal-Ain seizes power and drives her from her temple, forcing her into exile. Listen to her words, translated from the cuneiform tablets. He has made me walk in the briars of the mountain. He stripped me of the crown of the high priesthood. He gave me a dagger and a sword, and said, "This is for you." It's a raw, emotional account of betrayal and despair. She feels abandoned by her gods, cast out into the wilderness. But in her darkest moment, she turns to her personal goddess, the powerful and formidable Inanna goddess of love, war, and the heavens. She composes this powerful hymn, not just to praise Inanna, but to persuade her, to move her to action. She describes Inanna's immense power, her ability to destroy mountains and flood the land. She reminds the goddess of her own loyalty and service. It's part prayer, part legal argument, part desperate plea. According to the poem, Inanna hears her plea and intervenes. Lugal Ain is defeated, and Enheduanna is restored to her rightful place in the temple of Yor. The exaltation of Inanna is more than just a poem. It's a testament to resilience, a story of falling from grace and fighting your way back. It shows Enheduanna not as a distant historical figure, but as a passionate, vulnerable, and ultimately triumphant woman. The influence of Enheduanna's work was immense and long-lasting. Her hymns were so revered that they became part of the standard scribal curriculum for the next 500 years. Young scribes learning their craft would copy her poems over and over again, ensuring their survival. Over 100 copies of her hymns have been found, far more than for most other works of Mesopotamian literature. This shows us that she wasn't just a curiosity. She was considered a canonical author, a master of her craft whose work was essential for any educated person to know. Her poems also had a profound impact on theology. She took the goddess Inanna, who had many different local variations, and synthesized her attributes into the powerful, complex, and sometimes contradictory deity we know from later myths. She essentially defined Inanna for future generations, shaping the religious landscape of Mesopotamia for centuries. Some scholars even suggest that echoes of her hymns can be found in later religious texts, including the Psalms of the Hebrew Bible, through shared literary traditions and themes of personal lament and divine praise. So why isn't she a household name? For centuries, her identity was lost to history. When her works were first rediscovered and translated in the 20th century, many scholars assumed the author must have been a man, or that Enheduanna was simply a title, not a personal name. It took decades of painstaking research by scholars like William Hollow and Joan Westenholz to reconstruct her life and definitively attribute these groundbreaking works to her. Today, Enheduanna is finally being recognized as the pioneer she was. She was a princess, a priestess, a politician, and a poet. She was the first author in history to step out from the shadows of anonymity and declare, "I wrote this." Her story challenges our preconceptions about the roles of women in the ancient world and reminds us that the desire to create, to tell our own stories, is a fundamental part of the human experience. The next time you pick up a book and see the author's name on the cover, think of Enheduanna. Think of the calcite disc with her image, of the clay tablets bearing her words, and of the revolutionary act of a woman in ancient Sumer who, over 4,300 years ago, picked up a stylus and made history. Thanks for journeying back in time with us. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit the like button, subscribe for more dives into hidden history, and let me know in the comments which historical figure we should explore next. See you in the next video.